YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I thought I would just kind of get in front of the camera, get myself more comfortable. I know in my previous kind of sit down chit chat video, that's something that I said I wanted to work on, was to get in front of you guys more often and kind of be a little bit more personable and more real life and kind of organic, instead of just so instructional, which I'm still gonna do instructional, cooking videos because that's kind of what I love. But I don't know, I wanna get in front of you guys. I'm not going to edit this too awful much. In fact, I'm not even gonna hit the stop button. I'm gonna keep going because I've already tried to record this like a dozen times because like I said, I nitpick myself, and I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna start trusting and loving myself a little bit more. But so today I thought I would kind of get in front of the camera and do a story time video. I kind of watch those on YouTube, and I thought to kind of keep in line with my channel, it is a cooking video, a cooking story time, kind of a cooking disaster actually. This is back when I was starting to learn how to cook. I was just, I think, middle school age, whatever you are in middle school, preteen. But that's where the story begins. Let's see, back in, oh my, long time ago, we still had home ec in school. In fact, I feel like my generation is kind of almost the tail end of the home ec generation. In fact, it wasn't even a whole school year long. I think it was just a semester, if I remember right. It was the 7th or 8th grade middle school years. But it wasn't called home ec, it was called something else, but I can't remember. In fact, I can remember the teacher, but I can't remember her name to save my life. But she taught us how to cook, a few very simple recipes, nutrition, and a couple other things I want to say. I can't remember, but life skills. In fact, I kind of wish that they would have more home ec in school, simply because I feel like you learn more about living actual life and being an adult in those kind of classes rather than some of these other ones. I don't know. I mean, I know academics is important. However, living in the real world is also incredibly important, and having those life skills is priceless as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, she taught us how to make pancakes, and among other things. But the pancakes was kind of important to me. When I was younger, pancakes used to be my favorite food. In fact, my grandmother, whenever I would go over to her house, now this is this grandmother is still living. If you're watching, Grandma, hi, I love you. In fact, she's down here in North Carolina visiting, and I'm actually gonna have dinner with her tomorrow night. She's 92 years young, and I'm excited to see her again. But anyways, she would always make me pancakes whenever I would stay at her house for the weekend. And kind of a side story to that, which kind of endeared, me to her, was that her husband, my grandfather, he actually passed when my mother was pregnant with me. And so I never met him, although we were technically on the earth the same time. He passed a few months before I was born. And but I always felt like I knew him because everyone continued to talk about him, tell me stories, or just say certain things. Everyone says that I have his eyes, so even though I never actually met him, I do feel like I know him, which is very endearing. I'm really glad that my family chose to speak about him and speak about him often, so that way I got to know him through their stories. And so I guess one of his favorite foods to have in the morning, for breakfast was pancakes as well. So she never complained about making me pancakes. That was always something she actually looked forward to and enjoyed, because my grandfather liked them as well. And in fact, she calls them pancakes. I kind of do too, homage to Grandma. And so when I took this home ec class and learned how to make these pancakes, she was actually set to come visit shortly thereafter, and I was crazy excited to make these pancakes for her because, my whole life she's been cooking for me, And she's a great cook, by the way. I have to put that in there. Between her and my mother, her daughter, those two women have taught me quite a bit in cooking. Their recipes always go over well, and so if anybody likes my recipes or the way I do things, thank those two ladies behind me. Anyways, she was set to come visit. I was excited to make these pancakes for her. I got a pretty good grade, if I remember right, making these pancakes. They turned out really well. And so, fast forward a few days, she came for the weekend, and I got all of my ingredients out of the pantry, because these were homemade pancakes. They were not, a box mix. These were pancakes that you make from complete scratch. And so I should also say that my mother, she used to put all of her baking ingredients, you guys remember like those Tupperware containers? I think they were like orange, can't remember what color they were. They might have been yellow. But she kept them in these Tupperware containers, and her being the seasoned cook that she is, she knew what was in them, just by opening them up and looking at them. And not only that, it was her kitchen, and she was the one who cooked in it, almost all the time. At that point in my life, I was more so like helping her cook instead of cooking on my own. And so anyways, I get all my ingredients out, measure them out perfectly, combine them perfectly, get my griddle hot, put some butter on it, make the first pancake, and something was off. It was not turning out right. And Grandma said, don't worry, it's not a big deal. The first pancake in the batch never turns out and good at all. So just start fresh. Let's start with the second pancake. So I said okay. So I put more batter in the pan, and it just kind of like was really runny, and it just kind of run almost the whole circumference of the pan. And I didn't cry, but I got upset, thinking, I just learned how to do this, and I didn't do too bad on it. So why is it not turning out at home? When I wanted to make this for someone else. So Grandma kind of got up, and she looked at my ingredients, opening lids, kind of, she even put her, her pinky finger in one and kind of tasted it. She goes, "That's not flour, honey. That's powdered sugar." So I made all my pancakes, or my batter, with powdered sugar rather than flour. And so at that point I did kind of get upset, thinking, okay, I'm just gonna have to put, all of this, in the garbage and not use any of it. And Grandma said, no, we'll fix this. And she went and got the flour, and she, just started adding it and, mixing it until like the thickness of the batter started to come together. And she said, okay, let's try this. And so I got my griddle hot again, put my butter down, and made my pancake. But the texture and the consistency was still off, because that much powdered sugar in a pancake, it's pretty sweet. So I made it. It came out of the pan. It resembled a pancake. And she said, "You know what? These aren't pancakes. You made crepes." And then she made a big deal about how I made this fancy French food. And she didn't even let it bother her. She didn't let it skip a beat. Didn't want me to feel bad. So she sat down and we had crepes for breakfast. That is not how you make crepes. However, no syrup needed. They were incredibly sweet all on their own. But Grandma saved the day. So that's kind of my disaster averted by Grandma story for cooking. I don't know, like I said, I keep looking down here at my list. What are your guys' stories? I know, especially maybe with your grandparents or your parents, or maybe your grandchildren or children, what disasters have you found yourself in the kitchen, and what did you do about it? I'm actually kind of curious. I want to hear these stories in the comments below, so please comment. I would love to hear your stories. But that's it for mine. If you guys liked today's video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like what I do here, please consider hitting subscribing. I'm trying to put out new content every week, and I don't want you guys to miss it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.